the Great Wall of China, a structure so large it could be seen from space. But how was this 13,000-mile wonder built? It's me, and you're watching this channel. Join me today as we look back through time to see how one of the world's greatest construction projects came to life. The idea of a wall to keep out invaders along China's northern borders had been around since the 7th century BC. But it wasn't until the 16th that the wall we know today really started to take shape. By this point, China had been ruled by the Ming Dynasty for almost 300 years, and it was during this time that the majority of the wall was constructed. The Ming knew that to the north of their Chinese lands lived many nomadic tribes who often raided into China to steal their riches. These tribes were excellent horsemen and were able to travel long distances very quickly. So the Ming emperor at the time decided that the best defense would be a series of walls which stretched across the entire northern border of his empire. Construction began in earnest in 1368 with 300,000 laborers working around the clock to get the job done. And unlike what many people think, these weren't just peasants conscripted to build the wall. In fact, the Ming government set up a special organization to oversee the construction of the wall and its many watchtowers. This organization was made up of military personnel, civil servants, and even some scholars whose job it was to manage the laborers who were paid for their work. So how did they actually build this wall? Well, the answer is pretty simple. With the help of one very useful invention, gunpowder. You see, the Ming were well aware that the nomadic tribes they were building the wall to protect against had access to firearms. And so to counter this, they invented a very early form of mortar. See, the secret to making mortar is combining 3 key ingredients: sand, lime, and water. When combined correctly, this mixture hardens over time, creating a strong bond between bricks or rocks. Without the use of mortar, the wall would have been impossible to build because the materials simply wouldn't stick together. Another key innovation the Ming came up with was a type of brick that could be made in mass using a simple mold. Before this, bricks had to be made by hand, which was not only slow, but meant that no 2 bricks were ever the same size. The standardization of bricks allowed the builders to construct the wall much faster, because now they could fit the bricks together like pieces of a puzzle. With these innovations, the Ming were able to build the wall very quickly. It took just 20 years to complete the entire structure, which is an impressive feat considering its size. The wall is 13,170 miles long, and in some places is over 26 feet high. But despite the wall's size, it wasn't exactly built to keep people out. In fact, the wall's purpose was just as much about keeping people in as it was about keeping people out. At the time, China was experiencing a population boom, which meant that there were lots of people living within its borders. With so many people living so close together, the risk of disease spreading was very high. The Ming knew that if they could keep the sick within the borders of China, then they could protect the healthy from getting sick. To help with this, the government also built a series of hospitals along the wall where travelers could go to get treatment if they fell ill. As for how well the wall worked, it's hard to say. On the one hand, the Ming Dynasty lasted for another 150 years after the wall was built, which suggests that it did a good job of protecting China. On the other hand, there were still several rebellions during the Ming Dynasty, which suggests that the wall wasn't all that effective. In the end, the Great Wall of China is an impressive feat of engineering and planning. It's hard to imagine that just a few hundred years ago, this wall was built by hand using simple tools and techniques. Today, the wall is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most popular tourist destinations in China. Every year, millions of people come to see this amazing structure and learn about its fascinating history. If you want to see more videos about ancient China, stay tuned. And as always, thanks for watching.